7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
The Savachi syndrome, I'm telling you, I'm like, well, holy shit, that was crazy. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Moto Aftermath Show presented by TLR Coatings. We are here in studio. I am solo again, as you can see. We're just really struggling with scheduling right now this year. Cole was down at WW Ranch doing the 125 race this weekend, and Justin just has a real job now, so it's just tough. But anyway, here we are wrapping up round. Are we 5? Yeah, round 5 of the 2019 Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship. We were down at WW Ranch. First time the series has been there. Only, I think, the second pro race at this place. They had the GP a couple years ago. But before we jump into all of that, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment on the video here. Obviously, I'm solo, so comments are kind of how I go back and forth with you guys here because I don't have anybody else to go back and forth with right now. So again, please, please, please make sure to do that. Make sure to subscribe. We are only 77 subscribers away from our 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So tell your friends about us. Make sure to subscribe. We need to get up to that 1,000 there. So and like I said, we'll do a giveaway once we get to 1,000. Make sure to follow us on all the major social media sites: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on all those. We don't necessarily update them all the time like I probably should be, but we are on there. So anyway, so you can follow us on that. If you do want to support the show, we have t-shirts for sale, 25 bucks a piece. In the description there are instructions on how to order one of these. Also, if you don't want to order necessarily one of these that way, we do Teespring t-shirts. There's Amazon links, or you can donate via Patreon and we'll send you stuff for free if you donate on Patreon. So getting into the action here, we'll start like we always do. We will start with fantasy this week. It was rough again. Who am I kidding? It was rough. I scored a 312, which actually wasn't the lowest of the group. Cole actually scored less than me. I think he was 308. But I had some guys that struggled. The heat definitely hurt me being down here in Florida when it was hot. So in 250s, I had Peters, Zane Merritt, RJ Hampshire, and Pierce Brown. Peters scored me 32 because he didn't race the second moto. He raced like 6 laps of it and pulled off. So that hurt me. Zane Merritt actually scored me a 66 points, so that was a pretty solid left field pick there. RJ Hampshire, who I've been waiting for this race, absolutely waiting to pick RJ for this race, scored me 40. Two rough motos there. Yeah. Scored me 40. So thanks, RJ. Really appreciate that. And my big winner of the day in the 250 class, Pierce Brown, scored me 94 points. So the amateur sensation here made it happen. So so that was my 250s. As far as my 450s go, I had Justin Bogle scored me a solid 11 points. Thanks a lot, Bogle, for nothing. Eli Tomac, 40 points. Again, another solid Tomac ride. Joey Savachi, fuck that guy. I will never pick that guy again for fantasy. This is twice now I picked him for fantasy thinking, oh my god, he's going to score me all these great points. And he scored me 29. And to wrap up my utterly solid 450 picks, I went out on a limb. I picked Jeremy Hand. He's got me 0 points. So that's how I get to 312. Currently 15th, so we're at a mid-pack in our fantasy league. If you want to play fantasy with us, again, our league is Moto Aftermath Show, TGO. It's right down here. It'll show you. Link in the description to it. We play through the PulpMX Fantasy site. We are giving away prizes for the top 3 people in Moto Aftermath Show, TGO League. Obviously, none of us who host the show will be able to win it, but we are giving away prizes, which include t-shirts, goggles, grips, and some stickers and stuff like that. So we're not giving away any dirt bikes, but we're doing all right. So anyway, as far as the track goes, track was WW Ranch. It looked like the last time we saw him at the GP there at WW Ranch. It was sandy. It was very, very hot. The heat was the talk of the day, 90-some degrees with a bunch of humidity and a heat index of 102. So that made everybody kind of struggle, and we'll get into that as we get into the racing action here. But other than that, it was just a big flat field with a motocross track built in the middle of it. So nothing really crazy. It did, however, race well. It looked good. So I don't know what the crowds were like. I haven't really heard. Nobody was really sure on the stuff I listened to today. Hopefully the crowds were good. Hopefully they go back. I think having a Florida National is a good deal. We need a really, really hot race at least once during the year. So overall I think it was good. But yeah, that's all I got to say about fantasy, the track. So we'll jump into 250s and then follow up with 450s. So let's go. 250 action coming up first. Okay, 250s here. So I actually went through, kind of made a couple notes of some of the bigger things that happened, and then we'll kind of break down the top 10 a little bit here. It was a rough night last night. Anyway, so Moto 1, Derek Drake gets the whole shot, which is good. TLD KTM team, as everyone knows, has been struggling, and so they need every little break they can get. So he gets the whole shot, leads for a little bit, and then in the rollers, yeah, he was just pushing the limits as hard as he could to stay out front there, and he ate it. So it was a good crash. It was a big crash. He did get up from it and took off, but yeah, that was, and I think this is good. Again, this is one of the things we can work with speed. So seeing a rookie get out front and actually show us some speed, awesome. RJ Hampshire, that first moto, slides out on the face of a little double, and then slides out on the landing also, and so that put him back. And then Chase Sexton hunting down and taking the win, and wins his first ever outdoor moto, and he left it all out there for anybody who hasn't watched it already. Spoiler alert, second moto, Sexton did not race. He went to the line and then he went back. Heat exhaustion, said he threw up like 4 times on the podium. This could be a long summer for him. He needs to know how to let his body rest here after this. One of the problems with these kids is a lot of them will train and train and train and train and train themselves into the ground. He doesn't need to train this week. He needs to, as JT said, sit and hang out. He needs to do very light, mostly indoor cardio stuff probably, and he needs to just hang out and get his body rested and refueled and ready to go for next weekend, because boom, we're right back at it at Southwick, and guaranteed it'll be hot at Southwick because it always is. But cool to see Sexton get his first actual Moto win. We all kind of wondered when it was coming, and it finally came. Moto 2, Sexton being out was one of the biggest talks of Moto 2, and Oldenburg pulls a whole shot. So other than that, out of Moto 2, there wasn't a whole lot that we won't cover with going over the top 10 here. I mean, you basically had all the star bikes up front there, and you had Frenchie and Cooper going at it for the win, and I think Justin Cooper is much like Sexton and gave everything he had. Now, one thing to note here that they've been talking about all week is the star guys are all on the West Coast training. Now, a lot of the week was talked about this is going to be a disadvantage. They haven't been training in this heat and humidity. The West Coast, the temps haven't been that bad, so they won't be prepared for this. This will suck. And everybody who was training in Florida was like, this is great. I got this, I got this, I got this. Now, once the racing actually happened, you have Sexton goes out. AC has kind of a so-so day. You have a lot of these Florida guys kind of have so-so days. So one thing I heard in the PulpMX wrap-up that JT had mentioned is these Florida guys training this, yes, it prepares them, but if they went out and worked harder this week, well, now instead of being ready for the race because their body is 100%, they're say maybe 85-90% because they've been just killing themselves all week in the heat and humidity in Florida. And so then they get to the race and you have stuff like Sexton who goes out, where you have these California guys, they're not training in the heat and humidity, but they get there, they're 100%, so they go both motos. As you could see if you've watched the race, the podium interview after the second moto for Cooper winning the overall, he was spent. He was done. I don't know if he went to the hospital. I haven't been on Instagram yet today to see, but he was definitely done. So let's run through the top 10 here now. 10th place, Jacob Hayes with a 13.8 on the day. That's actually really good. I don't pay much attention to Hayes because I don't look at him as an outdoor dude at all yet. And plus those Rock River bikes, there's been issues to say the least so far this year with them. So actually impressed that he did get into the top 10. That's pretty good for a not outdoor guy. And a 13.8 getting a top 10 in a moto too, that's pretty good. 9th place, Sexton with a 1:39. Obviously, like we said, he did not race the second moto. He went to the gate, dropped the gate, and went back to the truck and won that first moto, but again, left it all on the line. So again, I hope he just rests and recovers this week so that way next week he can come out swinging again, because like we said, Southwick is notoriously hot. 8th overall, Hampshire with a 6:11 on the day. I mean, he had to crash the second moto on the first lap, going into those kind of uphill rollers with Dabalos, and they both fought back. I don't remember where Marty got the second moto, but he did fight back and got in the top 10. Hampshire fought back to 11th. And I mean, good on him for fighting back, but man, just a way to shit the bed. I mean, I don't know. RJ Hampshire is still a guy that I don't really care for. I can't really stand because he's so touted and he's been taking up a spot on one of my favorite teams here for so long, but it's like this guy is not the answer. He is, I'm going to say this, even though he's won some motos and he's won some races and stuff, I'm going to say he is a top 5 guy in both supercross and motocross. And I guess if that offends anybody, let me know in the comments below, but that's where I'm going with Hampshire. I just don't see him, and he's going to Rockstar Husky next year. I don't think the change of teams is going to help, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Nichols, kind of a quiet day, 9.7 for 7th overall. Not bad as far as he goes because, again, another guy we don't really look at as an outdoor guy. Just kind of a quiet day, and with as hot as it was, it doesn't really surprise me with those finishes. And again, we didn't see him a lot on TV. Because of not going to the races, I can only see what's on the television, so didn't see a lot of him. And then we get to 6th place, and we have our first A-Mart sighting of the year. 7.6 for 6th overall. Second moto, if you're watching, lost his front fender there, which had to be a nuisance. But there was one little thing in the broadcast I caught during the second moto that I'm not sure everyone did. And it was Will Christensen said she had talked to A-Mart and the team or whatever, and they were looking for more power in that bike and had found some, but they still weren't there yet. So for anyone who doesn't know, the Suzukis are notoriously down on power. They just got a new bike this year, of course, too, which doesn't help anything, but notoriously down on power. So the fact that they're now coming out and saying, well, we're looking for power because in the outdoors, there's nowhere to hide from it. In Supercross, you can hide with not having enough power because you can do some things with gearing and the track's not as big, etc., etc. Outdoors, there is no hiding from it. If you don't have power to get yourself through that deep stuff down that start straight, you're in trouble. So this could be a long rest of the summer for A-Mart unless they all of a sudden find some power. And I'm here to tell you, they're going to have a long road to hoe here if they're going to get anywhere near those PC or those Star bikes, because those things are rocket ships, all of them. But man, it's just not the A-Mart we've seen before, and I feel like it's kind of, he's of the age, even though he might not say this, and a lot of people might disagree with it. I feel like he's getting into the twilight of his career. I think he's like 28 or something like that, so he's not young. He's getting into the twilight of his career. He's still racing the 250 class. To use Justin's line, this may just be who he is a 5th to 10th place guy with podiums every once in a while sprinkled in there when the timing's right. But that's really, I don't see A-Mart doing a ton better than this year because, let's face it, we just haven't seen anything out of him. Then we'll move into 5th overall with an 8.4 on the day. Hunter Lawrence. Again, just kind of a quiet day for Hunter. He was up there battling the second moto. He was right on AC's tail at the finish there. But again, I don't think he's not going to be a threat in points here at this point because he had too many faulty races at the beginning. He is now basically, as we said, just playing the spoiler. The 8th and the 1st moto might have been somewhat of a holy crap, it's hot out, and this is harder because a lot of those GP races are not quite this warm. The 4th and the 2nd moto was mildly more impressive, but again, you're looking, and we're talking here, he hasn't seen a lot of these tracks. Now, this is one of those counterproductive points, or counterproduction to that point there. He's been on this track before. So technically, I thought it would have probably gone better, but again, I think he is right now, we'll say a 3rd to 8th place guy with a win here and there for this season. I think he will be able to put it together again, but for this year, that's just where I see him mostly, as we're now almost halfway through the season. 4th overall on the day, Mosman, 3-5 moto finishes, and this kid he's the only guy keeping Husqvarna alive. That's all there is to it. Jordan Bailey is doing absolutely nothing. So the 250 team is literally Michael Mosman. No, he's not re-signed for next year. And to be really honest, if they don't sign him for next year, re-sign him after what he's done so far this year with this comeback and everything and development, then I'm just saying Rockstar Husky is dumber than they look, because you would be insane not to sign this kid for next season when he's the only one holding your team afloat this year. So I don't know, another good day, but again, to use Justin's line, that's who he is. I think he's a 3rd to 8th place guy here all summer, and that's just where he's going to be. I don't see him winning. I don't think he's got that speed to beat Cooper, Ferrandis, or AC, but I think he's up there in the mix, and we'll have a quietly good season where you'll just every time look at the standings and go, Mosman's there. That's interesting. 3rd overall on the day. First race he hasn't won the overall. AC 5-3 on the day. I heard he trained more this week than normal. I think he was just overworked during the week here, I guess you'd call it, and went into the weekend not 100%, and as hot and humid as it was, he didn't necessarily look bad. He just plain and simple didn't have it. He did not have anything for these other two that are ahead of him here. So yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say as far as AC goes. He still has a points lead. I think he lost 8 points. He was 26 up, so he's now 18 up still. So still a comfy-ish points lead. And I think if he would have got this win, if he would have pulled an overall, would have kind of been the nail in the coffin for him winning this championship, because I think he would have just said to everyone, well, now I've won the first 5, so come get me. But I don't think anybody would have had anything. But now you got some other people that are getting up there, so this will be interesting to see how the rest of the year goes, and hopefully we don't have a repeat of Supercross where he throws it away late in the year. But I'm not going to say it's a bad day. I mean, if you can have an off day where you're not feeling it after you've won the first 4 overalls in a row and you go 5-3 for 3rd, I mean, that's a championship run as far as I'm concerned, championship ride. So second yesterday overall, Dylan Ferrandis, 4-1 moto scores, got that second moto victory, and there was just nothing about that second moto that said he wasn't going to win it. He was all over Justin Cooper for the first however many laps. He kind of backed off, let everything settle in. You could kind of see Justin start to fade just a little bit, like he got tired, and Ferrandis struck, and boom, pulled the moto win. And it's amazing too, because he got a start. So when he gets a start, look where he's at. So the first race, not as good. Fourth in the first race. But I think 4-1 second overall. I think he's happy-ish for the day, because at least he finally got that first moto win for this year off his back, on the box for this year. So that's good for him. And I don't know, maybe a contender, maybe not. We'll have to see. And then first overall on the day, Justin Cooper, 2-2, and he left it all out there. And again, though, good starts for Justin, and he just kind of stayed up there and got past both motos, but hey, there he was. So there's not really a whole lot to say about that other than he left it all on the track. He was going to pass out on that podium. It was kind of funny. So anyway, yeah, that pretty much is the 250 class in a nutshell. That's all I have to say about it. Again, it's hard not having anybody to bounce off of, so comment down below your thoughts on the 250 class, and we'll move on to 450s. Okay, so let's start talking 450s here. So 450 Moto 1, Webb gets the whole shot, and Roczen's all over him, and you see Roczen kind of blow by him, and you're like, okay, no way Roczen won't win this moto. But Marvin Musquin finally makes a showing here, emerges, and he is on a mission. So Marv goes through the pack and comes up and takes the lead in decisive fashion and ends up winning by, I think the final margin was 7 seconds, but he was like 10 seconds up for a fair amount of the moto. Tomac buried on the start, said that he got buried coming out of the gate there and couldn't get any traction on the sand. And then basically cannot work his way up. I mean, he made 10 spots the first lap. He was 18th. He got up to like 9th the first lap and then pretty much sat there. He got by Noren. Noren got back by him. He got by Baggett. Baggett got back by him, Noren got back by him, and then he passed both of them again. And so it was just a strange day as far as that first moto went for Tomac. Now, Kenny in that moto I thought looked pretty decent. However, there was one thing I noticed, his bike on those braking bumps, the rear end was really kicking high, so I don't know if they had a setting kind of wrong. And he couldn't quite go as fast as he wanted to. I'm not really 100% sure, but I didn't think his bike looked completely settled like it should. Maybe I'm wrong. Comment below with what you think, but that was just my thoughts and views. So then you get to Moto 2. Tomac, whole shots, and just shout out to Chiz. Chiz was on a rocket ship there. He actually was first going down most of the start straightaway and then went way outside, and that's where Tomac got him, was in the first corner. But other than that, yeah, so Tomac, whole shots, and just goes and is gone. Kenny's in about, I think he was in like, what, 4th or something? And 4th or 5th, wasn't really making any moves. You could kind of see like the heat was maybe getting to him, which was going to be the question of the day with him. But then we go back to him and all of a sudden he is fading. He's all the way back to like 7th, 8th, and helmet and gear looks like he took a digger and is all covered in mud. So he fades back to 10th for the second moto. So those were my main thoughts on the moto. Now as far as we jump into the top 10 here, 10th overall, Blake Baggett, 8-9. This is just, again, the conundrum that is Baggett. And, you know, just wins a moto last week. This week goes 8-9. I mean, just, that's it. So then you get it up 9th overall, Frederick Noren, 9-8, rumor mill off courtesy of Pulp. Shout out to Pulp MX. Is that he is going to JGR to test this week, so we may see him on a factory bike. But 9-8 on a full privateer bike with no mechanic, by himself, washing his bike and everything in that heat. Super impressive. Super impressive. I cannot believe that Honda hasn't picked him up to fill up Sealy's bike. He's rode for him before. He tests for him. He's great outdoors. I don't know what Honda's doing, but if Honda lets him go to JGR here, they're stupid. I love Honda, but they're dumb. Because Freddie Noren should be the continuous fill-in guy for Honda on that 450 slot. 8th overall, Dean Ferris, 10-7. Standard procedure with Ferris. I've heard he's having bike troubles and he's not super happy with it. So maybe they get that figured out at some point here. Maybe his finishes go up a couple of spots, but I don't see him being a whole bunch better than that. Barsha continuing to ride himself in 7th overall with a 6-6 on the day. I think that's a great finish for Barsha right now. Again, he's racing with hurt wrist. I don't know how bad they are. I thought he needed surgery on the one, but he's just kind of putting it in. But hey, I would say that is a good day for Barsha. And then we get to 6th overall, Kenny with a 2-10 moto finishes. And again, this is where we kind of thought we would see a real test of what was going on with Kenny, because we've all heard he's having these issues with some sort of sickness, and he squeaks out a second in the first moto, and then the second moto I think he would have been like 5th-ish. So I think he would have been up there still. I don't think he was going to go a lot farther forward, because again, I think those Florida guys used up too much training this week. But yeah, I don't know, because he crashed the second moto. We really don't know how he's going to hold up in the heat. Obviously the first moto was good, but he can put in one moto. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Maybe, hopefully next week will be better. He lost 6 points to Tomac, so Tomac now solely has the red plate after yesterday, and Kenny 6 points down. Again, that's nothing. That's Tomac getting a 7th and Kenny getting a 1st in a moto. So not the end of the world, and I think Kenny's big picture, so he just goes, okay, well, we got points, we salvaged that with a 10th place, finished that second moto, let's continue on, and we just continue to move forward. So we'll see how he looks next week in the sand, hopefully really good again. And again, Southwick's always usually hot. I have no idea what the weather's supposed to be like. I haven't started looking yet, but hopefully he gets back in it here, and we keep this points race pretty close. 5th overall in the day, Webb with a 4.5. He was up front for a little bit there in that first race, but then Kenny zapped him pretty quick. And I think this is just Cooper Webb right now this year. He's decent and he's a top 5 guy all day long, but I don't really see him doing like wins a bunch at this point. I've heard the bike's not set up. Obviously, he didn't give a shit about outdoors, as he told us in the press conference after Vegas. So I think this is just kind of a learning year for him of, let's see how it works going outdoors on the KTM, and let's work on bike settings, etc., etc. So 4th overall, Jason Anderson with a 3.4. Good day for Jason. I mean, he's got to win one of these at some point, right? He was fastest qualifier yesterday. I thought that first moto, he might do this, but just couldn't get it done. You would think someone with his accolades, as fast as he is, as good as he is, he would get a moto win or an overall win here soon. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words at this point. It's almost like it's building up so much that it's like, is it going to really happen, or is there going to be so much pressure on him that it's never going to happen? So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. 3rd overall on the day, Zach Osborne with a 5.2 moto score. And again, I think Zach just making a point here of, hey, I'm trying to be that #1 guy there. So we'll have to see how this goes. But man, he's putting in some good results outdoors. And then we'll have to see what Supercross looks like, because obviously this year with Anderson being out and Zach being out like most of the first half of the season, we didn't really get a chance to see them. But however, in outdoors, I think Zach's kind of showing that he's on Ando's level, and they're tied for points in 3rd. They've been tied. This will be the 2nd week in a row now they're tied. So this will be interesting to see how this goes. 2nd overall in the day, Tomac 7.1. That's 7th in the first moto. Really hurt him again. I get to use the word again. Just the conundrum that is Eli Tomac. 7th in the first moto and can't seem to go forward, but then in the second moto just gone. So why couldn't he come through the pack that first moto? Who knows? Would he have beat Marv that first moto? Doubtful. Marv was on one. But the second moto, he just wore everyone out. It was like a freight train of guys trying to come at him, and then they would fade. It started with Marv faded, then it went to Anderson faded, and then it went to Zach, and Zach didn't quite catch him. But yeah, I mean, he's got the points lead now by 6, so he's carrying that red plate all by himself. I think it's, so far, a decent season for Tomac. I'm not going to write this off as a loss here for the outdoors, but we'll just have to wait and see. Is Kenny going to wear him down? Maybe. I don't know. Comment below with what you think of Tomac's 7-1 ride for 2nd overall yesterday. And then 1st overall in the day, Marvin Muskin gets his first moto win, gets his first overall of the year with a 1-3 finish. And again, second moto, he just faded. He went by at one point, you could hear on the broadcast, he went by the pit lane shaking his head. And at this point, since there wasn't any bike problems, because that was with probably like 10 minutes to go in the moto, you have to assume he was just shaking his head like, I don't have anything for him. He had nothing for Tomac that second moto. He faded back to 3rd, and yeah, I just think honestly he got tired. Again, another Florida guy, got tired. So I don't know, maybe training in Florida may be a blessing and a curse, but we'll just have to see how the rest of the summer goes for these guys. Overall, interesting day. Track provided some good racing in both classes, I thought, and yeah, we're on to Southwick. We're going one sand track to another. So we'll see how this goes. I actually want to say that they think Florida is sandier than Southwick at this point because Southwick's got a hard base that's starting to come up, so we'll see. I don't really know, haven't been to the track, but I am excited for Southwick. I do like it. I like all the privateers that come out of the woodworks there and qualify good. That's pretty fun. And just watching a sand track is fun in general. So that's pretty much my thoughts on this. I'm pretty sure I've gone more than long enough. Again, comment below with your thoughts and opinions. Argue with me. It's totally fine. I get on there and argue back. It's not a big deal. And this has been another episode of the Moto Aftermath Show presented by TLR Coatings. And we will be back next week after Southwick. Thanks for watching. Follow us everywhere. Fantasy, whole 9 yards. Links all down below. See ya.